Chris Lee and Blayne Gilmer of Southeastern 14 here to preview Arkansas's trip to LSU. You can catch that one at 6 Central. That's Central on ESPN. On Saturday, LSU is, according to Vegas, as we do this on Sunday night, an 18-point favorite, 55.5 point over under. That makes for a predicted final score of 37-19 LSU. The computers, ESPN's FPI, factoring in the 3-point home field advantage for LSU, has the Tigers a 19-point favorite. SP Plus has LSU by 12, Sagarin by 11. Average those three computers, and Vegas, that's about a 15-point spread in LSU's favor. This one's lost a little bit of luster, maybe from where we would have thought preseason. We could have made the case that maybe these teams are playing as unbeatens, but that went off the board for LSU in week one with a loss to a really good Florida State team, and went off the board for Arkansas, which was an 8-point favorite, blew a lead, lost 38-31 to BYU in a disappointing game that I think left Arkansas fans shaking their heads. Still no Rocket Sanders. And I don't know if we have any news on Sanders as we do this Sunday night, but certainly Arkansas is going to need him to have much of a shot in this one, probably. And it's certainly going to need better execution in a lot of areas that we'll get to later. Blocking, penalties, stuff like that. Discipline was a big problem for Arkansas, which had 125 yards of penalties, I think it was, against BYU. Anyway, if you were Arkansas, you would have liked to come into this game on a better note. If you're LSU, you love the way you're coming in, having just dismantled Mississippi State in the blink of an eye in Starkville on Saturday.
Yeah, obviously the trends are going in two opposite directions for these teams, but I think also too you can look at things, glass half full. Glass half full for both of these teams. If you say, okay, yeah, we're Arkansas, we did this without arguably our best player with Rocket Sanders. Still, we're in a game where we had an opportunity to win the football game and played about as badly as you could play on the offensive front. And then also with discipline, like you talked about with the penalties, not being able to get off the field on defense at times. Even though you look at this game statistically, Chris, from the BYU game, I have not seen a box score. Arkansas dominated this game in terms of yards, in terms of preventing BYU from running the football. They just couldn't sustain drives. They were not efficient on third down. They went 1 of 2 on fourth down. BYU really didn't do a whole lot. I mean, but my goodness, you have to say, hey, if it's Arkansas, this one was on us. We know what we can fix. We know we can go forward. And then LSU, you got to question, okay, which team are we? We know that we gave up a little bit in that second half against Florida State. We made Mississippi State give up in this past game. So they got to find an equilibrium as well. So I think two teams that totally feel a little bit different about themselves going into this week, but they're both teams that have to answer some questions still going forward.
Yeah, you raised a good point there on Arkansas. That's one of those games that if you just look at the box score, you're going, this looks like a game they should have won. But again, it's back to discipline and penalties and execution on timely spots, and it just didn't happen. But look, there's more in there for the Razorbacks because KJ Jefferson is their quarterback. Anytime you got him, you got a chance. When Arkansas has the ball, it is running the ball 57% of the time, 4.5 yards per rushing play. LSU giving up 5.2 there. It is getting 7 yards even on passing plays. The Tigers giving up 6.2. Arkansas doing a good job holding on to the football, 1% turnover rate flat. LSU forcing turnovers on 1.7% of snaps. Look, Arkansas is going to have to play better on the offensive line than it has on the whole so far, and is going to have to find a little bit more punch in the rushing attack, whoever is out there.
Yeah, no doubt. They definitely have to establish that early. I think this is a game where it's kind of a, Sam Pittman. I'm not one calling for this, Chris, but we do a live reaction show every Saturday, and we heard people start calling for the the old axe for Sam Pittman, saying, "Hey, we're done with this. We're ready to move forward." So I think all stops will be out, and you'll see a 245-pound battering ram in KJ Jefferson if need be. I think they'll get him involved running the football, especially against a really, really good defensive front for LSU. Anytime you can run the quarterback, that gives you, numbers in the running game, and that'll help out. And then two, I don't think LSU is going to be afraid defensively, even against the struggles they had against, Keon Coleman and FSU. There is no Keon Coleman over here for Arkansas. You've got serviceable receivers, I think, at Andrew Armstrong and, Isaac Tesla, and then Luke Hayes does some good stuff at tight end. But I don't think there's anybody that they say, hey, we can't leave them one-on-one on an island. And you're going to have opportunities if you're KJ Jefferson when you see a loaded box to take some shots down the field, whether that's getting a shifty Isaiah Sategna, who we'll talk about when it comes special teams time. If it's getting him in an opportunity to win on one-on-one matchup against a safety maybe, or, you got those outside receivers in Tesla and Armstrong, but going to have to be better on third down. 2 of 13 is not going to cut it. You've got to sustain drives, and you've got to shorten this game. And Arkansas would have the ability to do that now with these new clock rules, Chris. I mean, that is changing the game drastically. If they can limit LSU's possessions, even if they only come away with a field goal here or even a punt and flip the field position, that's the things Arkansas has to look for in this game.
Yeah, Arkansas is averaging 66 plays on offense, 66 on defense. LSU's defense is doing a pretty good job of staying off the field. It's only been on it for 59 plays on average. You mentioned Keon Coleman. He's not playing Saturday, but Malik Nabers is, and he had a day. He dominated Mississippi State on Saturday. So did Jayden Daniels. I mean, I don't know who you pick for player of the game. Those guys both had incredible stat lines. LSU was just rolling in Starkville. That offense this just in pretty good with Daniels and all those targets. LSU averaging 45.7 points a game. Arkansas giving up 19 flat. LSU running it 48% of the time when it does. 5.8 yards per rushing attempt, 8.6 per pass attempt. Arkansas's run defense pretty salty so far, and some of that is a suspect schedule. But Arkansas giving up 2.9 yards per play on running plays, only 4.3 on passing plays. I mean, this defense statistically has been really good so far. Turnovers on 3.5% of snaps, LSU turning it over just under 1% of the time. I think of the disappointment, what's gotten lost is the Arkansas defense has been good. Arkansas's got 12 sacks this year, had a ton a year ago. I mean, Arkansas's got a fighting shot if it can get after Jayden Daniels. And oh, by the way, LSU's had trouble protecting the quarterback at times.
Yeah, and that's something that Arkansas has been pretty good at, going back all the way to last year. Creating pressure was actually one of the things their defense did really well. I know it's a different system now of going from Barry Odom to Travis Williams, but when you're talking about that Arkansas defense, the key to this one, Chris, is okay, can Arkansas stop Logan Diggs and any of the LSU running backs from getting going? Because even in that Mississippi State game, they didn't really get the running backs going. Most of the running damage was done by Jayden Daniels. So if they can stop the run, Arkansas, with 5 guys in the box, maybe 6 at the most, keep a safety over top of Malik Nabers, really play a lot of nickel and dime package, try to keep DBs on the field and prevent the big play, make LSU execute their way down the field and not chunk play them to death and explosive play them with Nabers, with Thomas, with Aaron Anderson, all those weapons that they have. Mason Taylor should be getting healthier for this game for LSU. So there's so many weapons, but the key to this one is going to be, can Travis Williams, like you said, get pressure on Jayden Daniels, and can they stop the run with 5 at the most, 6 in the box, and keep a lot of DBs back there to cloudy up that picture for Jayden Daniels.
Couple other factors here. Special teams. LSU was dreadful a year ago. They've improved so far. LSU ranked 72 in SP Plus's special teams rankings. Arkansas 78, so that's about even there according to SP Plus. And Brian Kelly has brought a lot of discipline to this team, Blayne. 33 penalty yards on average so far. That's outstanding. Arkansas 82 yards of penalties on average per game. Again, 125 against BYU really inflated that. That probably was the difference in the game. Arkansas is going to have to find some discipline. You know, if Arkansas can tap into what it had a year ago in the running attack, I think it can control pace a little bit, keep Daniels off the field. And again, those defense numbers have been great so far. And I know the first two games weren't great, but you're seeing some teams in this league that aren't putting up elite numbers against bad teams. So there's that for Arkansas. I think Arkansas can probably cover 18, especially if it can run the ball a little bit better. But I think, man, with their rushing attack in no better shape than it is at this point, going to be hard pressed to win in Baton Rouge in a night game, no less.
Yeah, that defensive front, as I mentioned before, Harold Perkins, they kind of unshackled him a little bit, let him kind of do more of his Harold Perkins-esque stuff in this last game against Mississippi State, flying around the field, bringing him from different places. Mason Smith, Deshaun Womack, Savion Jones, all those guys. I think that limits the ability of Arkansas to run the football, and then they're going to have to find ways to create separation at receiver, at which they have not done with any kind of consistency so far. And then, Chris, there is one element that I love to talk about with this being a night game in Baton Rouge that we have not discussed.
The LUC factor.
The LUC, liquored up Cajuns, are going to play a big factor in this in Baton Rouge, and they are going to make it very noisy. Now, KJ Jefferson is an old head, as the kids like to say. He's been around. He's not going to be daunted by that, but that offensive line, who is not necessarily as experienced, may be. So you may see him flinch a couple times, and you talked about that discipline. All it takes, think back to 2021 Arkansas at Georgia. All it takes is a couple of penalties early, back you up a little bit, and you could be in a world of hurt against a very good football team. I'm going to take my pick. Sorry, I didn't get my pick. I'm going to take LSU to win, and I'm actually going to take LSU to cover. I'm not going to doubt them this anymore. I was high on LSU preseason. Yeah. I overreacted a little bit to them quitting against FSU in the second half, but I'm going to take LSU to win and cover.
Yeah, I think LSU still got an argument is the best team in the league. I don't know that I'd go there yet. Spoiler alert for power rankings on Monday. But in any case, yeah, I like where LSU is. Going to be hard-pressed to see them losing to Arkansas given the circumstances here. But that's why they play the games. And, again, I think Arkansas, there could be a bounce back in here too. So we are previewing every single SEC game this week and this year involving FBS teams. Best way to get that, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. That helps our analytics. For Blayne Gilmer, I'm Chris Lee. We're Southeastern 14. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon with more SEC football content.